Teresa, and I'm going to be guiding you through a grounding meditation specifically for people that are Vata dominant. Our Vata friends are really fun friends. They're the ones that are creative and spontaneous. They love freedom, they love travel, they think outside the box. And they tend to be very kind-hearted people. The weakness of the Vata is that they sometimes have trouble making decisions and sticking to decisions, and they tend to be very influenced by external factors. So by the weather, by the food they're eating, and by the people they're around. So as Vedas, we are trying to be more like a lake and less like a glass of water. What I mean by that is, if you drop a salt cube in a glass of water, it will turn salty. And if you drop a sugar cube in a glass of water, it will become sugary. So for a Vata, if, for example, they come into work one day and everybody around them is grumpy and crabby, they'll feel grumpy and crabby too. If everybody's happy and laughing, they'll be happy and laughing. Vedas have a harder time generating their own happiness. So we are trying to be more like a lake. If you drop a sugar cube or a salt cube in a lake, nothing will change the constitution of that lake. So Vedas need grounding. They need to feel secure and supported. So this meditation will help connect us to the earth, connect us to our ancestors, and hopefully make everyone feel like they are part of this world and supported by this world. And then after this meditation, I will share with you a story about decision making that might be helpful. So let's start in a comfortable seated position and close your eyes. Take several deep breaths. Imagine now that you're walking through a forest. Maybe it's a tropical forest with big palm trees, toucan birds, or maybe it's an evergreen forest with snow on the needles. Just walk through the forest and see what you see. What do you hear? What are you noticing? Now as you're standing in this forest, imagine that you're rooted to one spot. And beneath your feet, those roots are growing down into the earth and moving through the subterranean. If those roots had eyes, what would you see in the soil? What would you see in the earth? Coming back now to the feeling of your own body. How does it feel to be part of the earth? to move now through the forest. The roots are no longer holding us in place. We can start walking towards a river. And at the edge of this river, we see people. These people are our ancestors. What do these people look like? Maybe they're fishing or washing clothes, or maybe just sitting in conversation. Just picture what these people look like. As you're walking towards these people, they notice you and they have a big smile on their faces. They have outstretched arms and they're welcoming you, and they give you a big hug. How does it feel to be embraced by your ancestors? These people are part of you, although they no longer walk the earth. Their molecules are part of you, and they're there for you, supporting you, loving you. How does it feel to have this love and support from the hundreds of people that came before you? Moving now away from your ancestors, waving goodbye to them. Come back to the forest. Walk through the forest. What are you noticing? Maybe moss dripping on trees, birds flying overhead, the understory of the forest. The forest wants you to be there. The forest loves you too, and you love the forest. Your CO2 that you're giving off is supporting the forest, letting it grow. Come back now to your body. Feel your body. Feel your feet and legs on the ground. Feel the support of the earth pressing up underneath you. When you're ready, slowly blink your eyes open. Vedas, whenever you're feeling a little bit untethered, you can always go back to the forest, and the forest will be there for you. Now, I promised you that I would tell you a story about decision making, or one that might help you with decision making. And that is the story of the Chinese farmer. So this story takes place several thousand years ago. And there was a farmer who lived with his wife and his son, and they had this beautiful stallion. And one day, the stallion broke through the fence and ran away. And the farmer's neighbors came over and said, "Oh no, I'm so sorry for you. You lost your stallion, your beautiful stallion." And the farmer said, "Good, bad, who knows?" So a couple of days later, he was mending his fence and he looked up and there was his stallion returning to him, and he had 2 other horses with him. When his stallion was out gallivanting around, he found some wild horses and brought them back to the farmer. So the farmer's neighbors came over and said, "Oh my goodness, what good luck you have. You used to have only 1 horse and now you have 3 horses." And the farmer said, "Good, bad, who knows?" So a couple of weeks later, the farmer was out and he was doing his harvest. It was harvest time, and his son was helping him. And his son slipped down a ravine and broke his leg, broke his femur bone, and couldn't help with the harvest anymore. And the farmer's neighbors came over and said, "Oh my goodness, what bad luck you have. This harvest you have to do all by yourself, and maybe you won't get the crops in on time, and your crops might mold and go bad." And the farmer said, "Good, bad, who knows?" So it was now a couple of weeks later, and the political tides were turning in China. And the Chinese army came through the village looking for all of the able-bodied men. And they stopped at the farmer's house. But when they saw his son, who had that severe fracture, he was no good to the army. So they just moved on to the next house. So by now you know how the story goes. Good, bad, who knows? So Vedas, when you are coming to decision time, it's important to take your time and think about the decision, do your due diligence. But if you have made the decision with research and your intent was good, your intent was kind, then after the decision is made, you can just give up attachment to that decision, because good, bad, who knows? You don't know what the ultimate outcome of the decision is. So that's a story that can sometimes help for those friends of ours that have a hard time with decision making and sticking to one decision. So that's all I have for today. Thank you. Goodbye.